I'm sitting in my favorite recliner when my son Michael walks through my front door without knocking. He's got that look again, the one that means he's about to ask for money. But this time he's not alone. His wife Sarah is with him, and they're both carrying clipboards. "Dad, we need to talk," Michael says, speaking louder than usual, like I'm deaf. "I'm 72, not 92. "We've been worried about you," Sarah chimes in with fake concern. "Living alone in this big house, forgetting things. Forgetting things. I run a tighter ship than I did at 40. Every bill paid on time, every appointment kept. I built a successful construction business from nothing, raised 3 kids after their mother died, and never missed a payment on this house." Michael pulls out his phone and starts recording. "Dad, what year is it?" The question hits me like a slap. My own son is testing my mental capacity like I'm some confused old man. "It's 2024, Michael. Same as yesterday when you called asking for $500 for Emma's dance lessons." He exchanges a glance with Sarah. She scribbles something on her clipboard. "Dad, you gave us that money 3 times last month. Don't you remember?" My blood runs cold. That's not true. I keep meticulous records. Every transaction goes in my ledger. But the way they're looking at me makes me question myself for just a moment. "We think it's time to discuss your living situation," Sarah says gently. "This house is too much for you." "Maybe it's time to consider assisted living," Michael adds. "We've found a nice place. And don't worry about the house," Sarah says quickly. "We'll take care of selling it, handle all the paperwork." There it is. My house, worth $800,000. They want my house, and they're willing to convince everyone I'm losing my mind to get it. If my son wants to play games, I'm about to show him exactly how good his old man still is at winning them. The next morning, I discover how far Michael has taken his performance. At Henderson's Hardware, old Pete gives me a look I've never seen before. Pity mixed with concern. "How you holding up, Frank?" he asks, speaking slowly like I'm a child. "I'm fine, Pete. Just need some screws for my deck repair." Pete exchanges glances with his nephew Tommy. "Your son Michael was in yesterday. He's worried about you using power tools. Said you've been having memory issues. He asked us to call him if you came in trying to buy anything sharp or electrical," Tommy adds apologetically. "At the grocery store it's worse. Marge from the deli speaks to me like I'm mentally handicapped. Your daughter-in-law Sarah called and said you've been buying too much food and letting it spoil. She asked us to limit your purchases." I'm standing in line with 3 items when Mrs. Patterson approaches with exaggerated sympathy. "Frank dear, I heard about your diagnosis. Michael stopped by to let me know about your condition. He said if I see you wandering confused, I should call him immediately." The entire store stares at me. These people who watched me raise my children after Linda died, who saw me build my business from nothing, are looking at me like I'm a fragile, broken old man. I drive home in a daze, and there's Michael's car in my driveway. He's on my porch with Sarah and 2 strangers. A social worker and someone from Elder Services want to do a wellness check because there have been multiple reports of concerning behavior. "Mr. Morrison, your son is worried about your safety," the social worker says kindly. "He's told us about several incidents. None of it is true, but they're writing it all down, and Michael is nodding sadly like the concerned son he's pretending to be. For the first time since Linda died, I feel completely powerless, but as I watch Michael orchestrate this performance, something hardens inside me. He thinks he's dealing with a confused old man. He's about to learn exactly how wrong he is. Listening to strangers discuss my competency, my mind drifts back 35 years to the night everything changed. Michael was 12, Jessica was 10, and Tommy was 8 when the state trooper knocked on our door at 2:17 a.m. Linda never made it home from her sister's birthday party. Some drunk college kid ran a red light and turned my wife of 15 years into a memory. In one night I went from being a husband and father to being everything those 3 kids had left. The funeral was Tuesday. By Thursday I was back at work because bills don't stop coming just because your heart stops beating. I worked construction then, 10-hour days in blazing sun or freezing rain. I'd get home exhausted, covered in dirt, and find Michael trying to make dinner for his siblings. That's when I started my own construction company, not for entrepreneurial dreams but because I needed control over my schedule. I needed to be home when my kids got back from school, helping with homework, driving to soccer practice, attending parent-teacher conferences. The early years nearly killed me. I'd work construction during the day, then spend evenings doing paperwork, bidding projects, learning to run a business I never planned to start. Some nights I'd fall asleep at the kitchen table, surrounded by invoices, only to wake up with Jessica draping a blanket over my shoulders. Morrison Construction grew from a one-man operation to 15 guys. We built half the houses in this neighborhood. I reinvested every penny back into the business, back into giving my kids stability. When Michael wanted State University for engineering, tuition was $12,000 a year. I took out a second mortgage on the house I'd almost paid off. 4 years of college, plus living expenses, plus keeping Jessica and Tommy fed and clothed. Jessica wanted to be a teacher. More college expenses. Tommy chose trade school. 3 kids, 3 different paths, and I made sure each had every opportunity I could provide. When Michael got married, I paid for half the wedding, $22,000 from my retirement savings. When he and Sarah bought their first house, I co-signed the loan. When Emma was born, I showed up with the crib, changing table, and rocking chair I built myself. Every birthday, Christmas, milestone, I was there. Not just physically, but financially invested. I postponed my retirement by 10 years to make sure they were all launched and stable. Now, listening to Michael tell strangers I'm incompetent, I realize the boy I sacrificed everything for is willing to sacrifice me for his convenience. But he's made one critical error. He thinks I'm the same broken man who fell apart when his mother died. He doesn't understand that 40 years of hard work taught me something valuable. I learned how to fight for what's mine. 2 weeks later, I discover how deep Michael's deception goes. At my doctor's annual checkup, Dr. Martinez gives me a concerned look I've never seen before. "Frank, I got a call from your son Michael. He's worried about cognitive changes you've been experiencing. He mentioned you've been having trouble remembering conversations, getting confused about dates, having difficulty managing finances." I sit there staring at the man who's told me for years that I'm in excellent health. My blood pressure is perfect. My cholesterol levels are better than most 50-year-olds. "Doctor, I haven't experienced any of those symptoms." Dr. Martinez nods sympathetically. "Frank, often patients aren't aware of early cognitive decline. Family members are usually the first to notice. The cognitive test is humiliating. Name the president, count backward from 100, remember 3 words. I pass perfectly, but Dr. Martinez seems disappointed. "Your cognitive function appears normal today, but early dementia can be episodic. I'd like you back in 3 months. At the bank, Mrs. Chen pulls me aside. "Mr. Morrison, your son spoke with us last week. He's concerned about unusual financial activity on your accounts." She shows me printouts. Every transaction is exactly as it should be. No duplicates, no errors, no confusion. "But Michael has planted the suggestion that I'm financially incompetent. We flagged your account for monitoring. Any large withdrawals or unusual transactions, will contact your son to verify. They've given Michael veto power over my own money." The pattern becomes clear. Michael has systematically contacted every person and institution in my life, spinning the same story. His father is declining cognitively. His father needs supervision. His father can't be trusted. At the pharmacy, they've been told I might double-dose medications. At the mechanic shop, they've been told I shouldn't be driving. Even my neighbors have been recruited into this fiction. Michael has created an entire narrative about my incompetence, and everyone believes it because why would a son lie about his father's condition? He's weaponized my relationships, turned my community against me, and built a legal case for his lies. But Michael has made one crucial mistake. He doesn't understand that losing Linda taught me something valuable. When everyone you count on disappears in one night, you learn to count on yourself. And I'm about to show him exactly what a man who counts on himself can do. Something shifts the morning I wake up to find Michael's car parked across the street at 6:30 a.m. He's not visiting. He's watching. Monitoring. I pour my coffee, sit in my kitchen chair facing the front window, and stare right back at him. After 20 minutes, he drives away. That's when I decide to stop defending myself and start planning. For weeks, I've been trying to convince everyone I'm competent. I've been reactive, scrambling to respond to each accusation. I've been playing defense while Michael controls the narrative. No more. If Michael wants everyone to think I'm declining cognitively, I'll give him exactly what he expects. If he wants to treat me like a confused old man, I'll play that role perfectly. Because while he's congratulating himself, I'll be working behind the scenes to dismantle everything he's built. When Michael calls, I start repeating myself occasionally, asking questions I've already asked. Nothing dramatic, just enough to confirm his narrative. "Michael, when did you say Emma's recital is?" "Dad, we talked about this yesterday. It's next Saturday." "Oh, right. And what time was that again?" I can hear him smiling, probably taking notes about his father's increasing confusion. When he visits, I make small errors. I call him by Tommy's name once, then correct myself with embarrassed confusion. I ask him to remind me where I put my reading glasses while they're hanging around my neck. Each performance feeds his confidence. He starts taking notes openly, documenting my decline for his evidence file. But while I'm playing confused for Michael, I'm doing something completely different when he's not around. I'm organizing 40 years of financial records, business documents, and legal papers. I'm creating comprehensive files proving my competency and exposing his lies. I contact my lawyer, Jim Castellano, asking him to review my will. Just want to make sure everything is in order. Getting older, you know. Jim schedules a comprehensive legal review. During our meetings, he documents my mental clarity, my understanding of complex financial matters. He doesn't know he's creating evidence that will destroy Michael's incompetency claims. I also start recording our conversations. Michael, I'm going to start recording our talks. My memory isn't what it used to be, and I want to make sure I remember correctly. He agrees enthusiastically. Great idea, Dad. That'll help you keep track. He thinks he's humoring a confused old man's paranoia, but he's actually confessing to fraud on tape. The beauty of strategic silence is that everyone underestimates you. Michael thinks I'm passively accepting my fate. The social worker thinks I'm cooperating. Dr. Martinez thinks I'm an aging patient whose family is appropriately concerned. None of them see the man getting up at 5 a.m. every morning to organize documents, research legal precedents, and plan a counterattack that will expose every lie Michael has told. Most importantly, I start reaching out to people Michael hasn't corrupted yet. My other children, Jessica and Tommy, who only know what Michael has told them. Business associates who remember the competent contractor. Former employees who know my character. I'm not just defending myself anymore. I'm building an army. But I do it quietly, without letting Michael see that his confused old father is actually 3 steps ahead in a chess game he doesn't know we're playing. 3 weeks into my performance, Michael makes the mistake I've been waiting for. He brings Sarah and a stranger to my house for a family meeting. The stranger introduces himself as Richard Kellerman, a real estate agent. Dad, we think it's time to consider selling the house, Michael says slowly. Richard specializes in helping families in transition situations. Kellerman spreads paperwork on my kitchen table. Mr. Morrison, your son tells me you're ready to simplify. This is a beautiful property. In today's market, we're looking at $750,000 to $800,000. Since you're dealing with memory issues, Kellerman continues, I'd recommend putting the house in trust with Michael as decision maker. There it is. They want power of attorney, my house in trust, and Michael handling the complicated business of selling my home. Where would I live, I ask, playing confused. Sunrise Manor, Sarah says brightly. It's lovely, and they have people your age. The best part, Dad, is you won't worry about anything. We'll handle everything. Michael slides a power of attorney document across the table. Just sign here. I let my hand shake as I pick up the pen. I think I'd like my lawyer to look at this first. Jim Castellano always told me never to sign anything without review. Michael's face tightens. Dad, you don't need a lawyer. We're family. The meeting ends with promises to think about it. After they leave, I immediately call Jim and schedule an emergency appointment. Jim, I'm concerned about Michael. He's been asking questions about my finances, my will, the house. I'm worried he might be in financial trouble. This isn't technically a lie. Michael has been asking those questions. I want a complete audit of my legal and financial status. I want it documented that I'm mentally competent to manage my own affairs. Jim schedules comprehensive competency evaluation with a court-certified psychologist. He orders financial audits from my accountant. He arranges medical evaluations from independent physicians. While that's arranged, I take my recordings to an electronics store for professional enhancement. The technician transfers everything to digital files and cleans up the audio quality. These are pretty clear now, sir. You'll be able to hear every word of Michael discussing how to get me declared incompetent, every word about selling my house, every word about assisted living while they profit from my home. I also hire a private investigator. Marcus Webb is a former police detective who handles domestic investigations. Mr. Morrison, these cases are unfortunately common. Adult children who see their parents as ATM machines. Within 2 weeks, Marcus provides a devastating report. Phone records showing Michael's calls to my doctor, bank, social services, witness statements from people he's contacted. Most damaging, Marcus discovers Michael has been researching assisted living facilities for 6 months, long before any alleged symptoms appeared. The final piece is the most painful. I contact Jessica and Tommy directly. Dad, Michael told us you've been having memory problems, Jessica says. He said you're getting confused. She repeats word for word the same story Michael has told everyone else. The forgotten conversations, repeated questions, dangerous lapses. He said you left the stove on and nearly burned down the house. None of it happened. Jess, I want you to listen carefully. None of that is true. Your brother is lying because he wants to steal my house. By month's end, I have everything. Legal documentation of my competency, medical proof of my mental clarity, audio recordings of Michael's deception, private investigator reports of his systematic fraud, witness statements from family members, but I still don't make my move, because I need Michael so confident in his victory that he'll commit himself completely to his deception. I'm in Jim Castellano's office reviewing competency evaluation results when he asks the question that changes everything. Frank, are you actually experiencing cognitive decline? or is someone trying to manipulate you? Jim has known me for 20 years. He's seen me negotiate complex contracts, manage legal disputes, make sound business decisions. The man sitting across from him is exactly the same sharp person he's always known. Jim, my son is trying to steal my house by convincing everyone I have dementia, and I've been letting him think it's working while I build a case against him. Jim leans back and starts laughing. I knew it. I've been wondering why a man who could recite contract law was supposedly getting confused about what day it is. Every single symptom he's reported is fabricated. I have recordings of him admitting it. Jim's expression shifts to professional focus. Frank, what you're describing is elder abuse and attempted fraud. These are serious criminal charges. I spent 2 hours showing Jim my evidence. The recordings, the investigator's report, the timeline of Michael's deception, witness statements from Jessica and Tommy. This is extraordinary, Jim says. You've caught him committing multiple felonies while he thought you were incompetent to stop him. Jim becomes my co-conspirator in exposing Michael's fraud. He shows me how to let Michael incriminate himself completely. The power of attorney he wants you to sign becomes evidence of fraud if you sign it under these circumstances, then immediately have me file a motion to void it. Jim also connects me with Dr. Sarah Chen, a geriatric psychiatrist who specializes in competency evaluations. Mr. Morrison, your cognitive function is not just normal for your age, it's superior. There is no evidence of any cognitive decline. She documents this evaluation, noting that symptoms described by family members are inconsistent with any known cognitive impairment. The pattern suggests fabrication rather than genuine cognitive impairment, Dr. Chen writes. But my most valuable ally comes from an unexpected call. Mr. Morrison, this is Detective Lisa Rodriguez with the County Sheriff's Department. I understand you might have information about potential elder abuse. Marcus Webb, my private investigator, brought concerning information to the police. Sir, Mr. Webb documented evidence suggesting serious crimes are being committed. Detective Rodriguez brings official law enforcement investigation. If you're willing to cooperate, we'd like to set up a controlled situation where the suspect commits these crimes while we're documenting everything. A sting operation where Michael will confess to fraud while police record every word. We'll coordinate with your attorney to create a situation where your son attempts to execute his fraud while we're watching. The plan is beautiful in its simplicity. I'll agree to sign the power of attorney in Jim's office with Detective Rodriguez listening from the next room. Michael will think he's won, but he'll actually be confessing to felonies with law enforcement as witnesses. Having these allies validates something I've known all along. I'm not a confused old man. I'm a competent adult who's been systematically targeted by someone who underestimated my ability to fight back. Jim summarizes perfectly. Frank, your son thinks he's been playing chess with a senile old man. He doesn't know he's been playing checkers with a grandmaster. The morning of reckoning arrives on a Tuesday in November. Michael calls at 8 a.m., excitement barely contained. Dad, Jim Castellano called. He said you're ready to sign those papers. I let confusion creep into my voice. Oh yes, Jim said it would make things easier. Maybe it's better if you handle the complicated stuff. That's exactly right, Dad. Don't worry about anything. We arranged to meet at Jim's office at 2 p.m. Michael has no idea that Detective Rodriguez and her partner are positioned in the next room, or that every word will be recorded by law enforcement. At exactly 2 p.m., Michael arrives with Sarah and Richard Kellerman, the real estate agent. The presence of the realtor tells me how certain Michael is of his victory. Dad, you remember Richard. He's here to help get the house listed as soon as paperwork is finalized. Jim spreads documents across his conference table. Power of attorney forms, financial management agreements, preliminary real estate listing contract. These documents give Michael legal authority to manage your finances and make decisions about your property. Do you understand? I nod slowly, letting my hand shake as I reach for the pen. Michael explained it. He says I don't need to worry about complicated things anymore. Michael leans forward eagerly. That's right, Dad. Sarah and I will handle everything. The house sale, moving you into Sunrise Manor, managing your money. How much money will be left over? I ask innocently. Michael and Sarah exchange a glance. Don't worry about that. We'll invest it for you. But where will the money go? We'll put it in a trust account, Michael says quickly. Sarah and I will be trustees. That way if anything happens to you, Emma's college fund will be secure. There it is, on tape, with law enforcement witnesses. Michael has admitted my money will go to his daughter's college fund when I die. Jim slides the power of attorney toward me. If you sign here, Michael becomes your legal representative. I pick up the pen, and Michael can barely contain his excitement. But instead of signing, I set it down and look directly at my son. Michael, before I sign this, I want you to tell me honestly, do you really think I have dementia? Dad, you've been having memory problems, confusion, difficulty managing things. What specific things? You've been asking the same questions repeatedly, forgetting conversations, leaving appliances on. I reach into my jacket and pull out a small digital recorder. Michael's eyes widen. That's interesting, because I've been recording all our conversations. Would you like to hear what you actually said about my stove? I press play. His voice fills the room. Dad's so paranoid about kitchen safety, he checks the stove 3 times before leaving. I don't think he's ever left an appliance on in his life. The silence is deafening. Jim, I think there are some people in the next room who would like to join our conversation. Detective Rodriguez enters with her partner and a court stenographer. Michael Morrison, you're under arrest for attempted elder abuse, fraud, and conspiracy to commit theft. What? Dad, what's going on? I never wanted to sign anything, son. I wanted you to confess to trying to steal my house based on lies, and you just did, with law enforcement recording every word. As they lead Michael away in handcuffs, I sit back down, surrounded by documents that were supposed to strip away my independence. The war is over, and I've won every battle. The first call comes 20 minutes after Michael and Sarah are arrested. Jessica, calling from Oregon, her voice shaking. Dad, I just got a call from Emma's school. They said Michael and Sarah were arrested. What's happening? I explain everything. The false dementia claims, the systematic fraud, the plan to steal my house. Jessica listens in stunned silence. But Dad, Michael told us you were getting confused. He played me recordings of you asking the same questions. Jess, I was acting confused because I was gathering evidence. Every symptom he reported was fabricated. You mean you've been pretending to have dementia for 2 months? I've been pretending to be the father Michael thought he could manipulate. The second call is from Tommy in Arizona. He's driving toward the airport. Dad, Jessica called me. Is it true that Michael tried to steal your house? It's true, son, and it's all documented. Your brother has been lying to everyone for months. I can't believe he lied to us about your health. We were planning to come home for Thanksgiving to help you move into assisted living. I'm not dying, Tommy. I'm not confused, and I'm not going anywhere. That evening, Emma and I sit in my kitchen while I make her favorite dinner. She's staying with me until we figure out what happens next. Grandpa, are you really okay? You're not sick? Emma, I'm healthier than most people half my age. I was pretending to be confused so I could catch your parents lying. She considers this. So you tricked them. I did. Good. They were mean to you. The shockwaves ripple through our community. Mrs. Patterson appears with a casserole in embarrassment. Frank, I owe you an apology. Michael had me convinced you were losing your mind. Pete from Henderson's Hardware calls to apologize. Frank, I've known you for 25 years. I should have trusted my judgment instead of listening to your son's lies. Dr. Martinez requests a meeting. Frank, I'm horrified that I was manipulated into questioning your competency. But the most important family reaction comes from Jessica and Tommy, who both fly home within 48 hours. Dad, Jessica says, I'm so sorry we believed Michael's lies. We should have talked to you directly. I'm ashamed we were planning to put you in a nursing home, Tommy adds. You weren't abandoning me. You were being good children who trusted your brother. The betrayal is his, not yours. Emma looks up from her coloring. Grandpa, will Mommy and Daddy go to prison? I don't know, sweetheart. That depends on what the judge decides. But privately, I know exactly what's going to happen. With documented evidence of systematic fraud, recorded confessions, and clear intent to steal my property, Michael and Sarah are looking at significant prison time. The family that tried to destroy me has destroyed itself instead. The story breaks in the local newspaper 3 days later. Local man arrested for elder abuse hoax runs front page in the Millfield Gazette, complete with Michael's mugshot and a photo of my house. Within hours, my phone starts ringing. Reporters want interviews. Social media posts about the fake dementia case are shared thousands of times. The private family drama has become a public story about elder abuse. Channel 7 News calls requesting an on-camera interview. Reporter Amanda Chen wants a feature story about elderly people fighting back against family fraud. Mr. Morrison, your case is remarkable because you took control instead of becoming a victim. Seniors across the region are calling you an inspiration. The interview airs during prime time, and suddenly I'm not just Frank Morrison from Millfield anymore. I'm the grandfather who outsmarted his scheming son. I receive hundreds of letters from seniors across the country who faced similar situations. Many tell stories of children who manipulated them out of homes, savings, independence. Mr. Morrison, my daughter has been trying to convince everyone I'm incompetent so she can take control of my finances. After reading about your case, I've hired an attorney and started documenting her lies. Mongret R., Toledo, Ohio. Elder services in 3 counties start using my case as a training example. The Morrison case demonstrates the importance of independent verification when family members report cognitive decline. The most significant public shift happens at Henderson's Hardware. I walk in 2 weeks after Michael's arrest expecting awkwardness from people who treated me like an incompetent old man. Instead, I get a standing ovation. The entire store stops and starts clapping. Pete Henderson comes out with a huge grin. "Frank Morrison, you magnificent old devil, you had us all fooled, thinking you were losing your marbles while conducting a sting operation." The dynamic has completely reversed. Instead of pity, people look at me with respect and admiration. I'm not the confused old man anymore. I'm the sharp senior who outmaneuvered his own son. The senior center invites me to speak about preventing elder abuse. The library asks me to participate in a community forum. The police department invites me to help train officers in recognizing elder abuse cases. "Your case has become our template for investigating financial abuse of seniors," Detective Rodriguez explains. "The local bank implements new policies based on my experience. The Morrison Protocol requires multiple sources of evidence before acting on reports of cognitive decline." But the most meaningful shift happens at Emma's school. When I pick her up, the principal pulls me aside. "Mr. Morrison, Emma has been telling her classmates about her grandfather who caught the bad guys. She's very proud of you." That night, Emma asks, "Grandpa, do people think I'm bad because Mommy and Daddy are bad?" "Emma, nobody thinks you're bad. People think your grandfather is pretty smart, and they think you're lucky to have him. My teacher said you're famous now. A little bit famous, I guess." The public response has transformed me from an isolated victim into a community symbol of resistance and resilience. I'm not just surviving Michael's betrayal anymore. I'm using it to help others protect themselves. The boy who tried to destroy his father's reputation has accidentally made his father a local hero. The reversal becomes complete when Michael calls me from county jail 3 weeks later. He's been unable to make bail because the charges are felonies and he's considered a flight risk. "Dad, we need to talk." His voice has changed completely. Gone is the condescending tone. Now he sounds like what he is, a desperate man facing years in prison. "The district attorney offered me a plea deal. 7 years for elder abuse, fraud, and conspiracy." I let the silence stretch. "Sarah's lawyer says she'll get 5 years. Emma would be 16 when we get out." "Dad, I need you to talk to the district attorney. Tell them you don't want to press charges. Tell them this was a family misunderstanding." The audacity takes my breath away. After months of destroying my reputation and trying to steal my house, he wants me to call it a misunderstanding. "Michael, what you did wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a carefully planned crime." "I know, but Dad, I'm your son. Emma needs her parents." The power dynamic has shifted completely. 3 months ago, Michael was treating me like a confused old man. Now he's begging me to save him. "When you called my doctor to report false symptoms, did you think about Emma then?" "I was desperate. The business is failing. We're behind on the mortgage. Emma's school costs are killing us." Finally, the truth. Not concern for his confused father, but financial desperation and greed that made my house look like the solution. "So you decided to have me declared incompetent and steal my house to pay your bills." "I wasn't going to steal it. I was going to use the money to take care of you. In assisted living that costs $40,000 a year while you live in my $800,000 house." The power reversal extends beyond Michael's phone calls. Sarah's parents, who barely acknowledged me for 15 years, suddenly want lunch with me every week. "Frank, we had no idea what they were planning," Mrs. Henderson tells me. "We hope this won't affect our relationship with Emma. They're terrified I'll cut them out of Emma's life." The power I never wanted has been handed to me by their daughter's crimes. But the most significant reversal happens with the house itself. I decide to make changes to my will that ensure Michael will never see a penny. "Jim, I want Michael completely removed from my will. Everything goes to Jessica, Tommy, and Emma. The new will is ironclad. Michael gets nothing. Emma gets a substantial trust fund he can't touch. And there's a clause stating that anyone who contests the will based on claims of my mental incompetency forfeits any right to inherit. I also hire contractors to renovate the basement into a proper apartment for Emma. I enroll her in excellent public school, saving the $15,000 a year Michael was spending on private tuition he couldn't afford. Most importantly, I start a college fund for Emma that will be worth more than $250,000 by the time she turns 18. Money her parents wanted to steal becomes money that secures her future. When Michael's lawyer contacts Jim about a possible defense strategy, they want to argue Michael genuinely believed I was developing dementia. "Frank, they're asking if you'd testify that Michael had legitimate reasons to be concerned about your mental state." I consider this for exactly 10 seconds. Tell them that if Michael wants to argue he was genuinely concerned about my welfare, I'd be happy to play the recordings where he discusses selling my house to pay for his daughter's private school and his business debts. The message comes back quickly. Michael's lawyer is no longer pursuing that defense strategy. 3 months ago, I was a supposedly incompetent old man whose son was making decisions about my life. Now I'm the one making decisions about his life, his money, and his future. The begging starts 2 days before Christmas. I'm decorating the tree with Emma when Sarah calls from detention, sobbing. Frank, please, I know what we did was wrong, but it's Christmas. Emma needs her mother. Emma looks up from hanging ornaments, her face carefully neutral. These conversations hurt her more than she lets on. Sarah, forgiveness and legal consequences are two different things. I know, but we were desperate. Michael's business was failing. We were going to lose the house. Sarah, did you think about Emma when you were calling my doctor to report false symptoms? We thought you'd be happy in assisted living, that you'd understand we were trying to help. Help me by selling my house and keeping the money? Michael's business partner David Chen shows up the next morning. Mr. Morrison, if Michael goes to prison, the business dies. 23 employees lose their jobs right before Christmas. The guilt trip is expertly crafted. I'm supposed to feel responsible for collateral damage from Michael's crimes. David, those employees didn't commit fraud against me. Michael did. But sir, you could end this. One conversation with the prosecutor. David, I didn't destroy your business. Michael did when he decided to commit felonies instead of asking for help. The most pathetic attempt comes from Mrs. Henderson, Sarah's mother, who shows up Christmas morning while Emma and I are making breakfast. Mrs. Henderson has never liked me. For 15 years she's treated me like I wasn't good enough for her daughter to marry into. Now she's standing on my doorstep, tears streaming down her face, begging me to save her daughter from prison. Frank, I know we've had our differences, but Sarah is a good mother. Emma needs her. The woman who spent years criticizing my parenting is now asking me to rescue her daughter from consequences of trying to steal my house. Mrs. Henderson, Sarah helped plan a scheme to have me declared mentally incompetent so she could steal my property. She made a mistake. People make mistakes when they're desperate. This wasn't a mistake, this was months of calculated deception. Emma appears in the doorway, wearing Christmas pajamas we picked out together. She looks at her grandmother with confusion. Grandma Henderson, why are you crying? Mrs. Henderson kneels down. Sweetheart, I'm trying to convince your grandfather to help Mommy and Daddy come home. They can't come home, Emma says matter-of-factly. They're in jail because they told lies about Grandpa. The simple honesty cuts through all adult rationalization. Emma understands exactly what her parents did and why they're facing consequences. Mrs. Henderson tries again. Emma, don't you miss your parents? Don't you want them home for Christmas? I miss them, Emma says carefully. But they were mean to Grandpa. Grandpa takes good care of me. The manipulation fails because Emma has seen the truth. She's watched me prove I'm competent and caring while her parents are in jail for lying. But the most desperate plea comes from Tommy, calling Christmas night. Dad, Michael called me from jail. He's talking about suicide if he has to serve 7 years. This is the conversation I've been dreading. The possibility that Michael might hurt himself and that I'd somehow be responsible. Tommy, Michael made his choices. I didn't force him to commit fraud. I know, Dad, but he's still family. Jessica and I are worried about what prison will do to him. Were you worried about what his lies were doing to me when you were planning to put me in assisted living? Tommy is quiet. We believed him, Dad. We thought you were really declining, because you trusted your brother to tell you the truth. That trust was misplaced, but that's not your fault. So what do? Do we just let him go to prison and destroy what's left of our family? Tommy, if someone else's son had done to their father what Michael did to me, what would you think the appropriate consequence should be? Long pause. I'd think that person deserved to go to prison. Then you have your answer. The begging reaches its climax when Michael calls himself 3 days before his plea hearing, more desperate than I've ever heard him. Dad, I'll do anything. I'll sign over everything to you. I'll work for free for the rest of my life. Just please talk to the prosecutor. Michael, what you're offering now is what you should have done 8 months ago when you got into financial trouble. Instead of asking for help, you decided to steal from me. I know. I was wrong. I was stupid. But Dad, don't let me go to prison. Don't let Emma grow up without her father. The emotional manipulation is perfect, pushing every button designed to make a father feel guilty. Michael, Emma is growing up without her father because her father chose to commit crimes instead of asking for help. That's not my decision. That's yours. So you're just gonna let me rot in prison. I'm gonna let you face the consequences of your actions, something I should have done more often when you were growing up. Michael hangs up on me, probably angrier than he's ever been with his father. But his anger doesn't change the fundamental reality. He betrayed me in the most devastating way possible, and now he wants me to rescue him from the consequences. The begging, the manipulation, the guilt trips all highlight how completely the power dynamic has shifted. 3 months ago, these people were treating me like an incompetent old man who needed management. Now they're all desperate for my approval, my forgiveness, my intervention on behalf of people who tried to destroy me. But what they don't understand is that the experience of being systematically betrayed has changed me. I've learned that mercy without accountability isn't mercy at all. It's enabling, and I'm done enabling the people who tried to steal my life. The symbolic moment comes on January 15th, exactly 3 months after Michael's arrest. When I clean out Michael's old bedroom, not his childhood room, but the room he stayed in when visiting with Sarah and Emma. Emma helps me carry boxes down to the garage. She's surprisingly matter-of-fact about it, like she understands that keeping these reminders serves no purpose. "Grandpa, what are we gonna do with Daddy's things?" "We're gonna store them. Someday, when you're older, you can decide if you want any of it." As we clear out the room, I find things that remind me of the boy Michael used to be. His high school football jersey, science fair ribbon from 8th grade, a Father's Day card he made me when he was 10, with crayon drawings of us fishing together. For a moment, the weight of what we've lost hits me completely. This isn't just about fraud, this is about the death of a relationship that defined my life for 35 years. But then I remember the recordings of Michael discussing plans to sell my house. I remember him bringing a real estate agent to evaluate my property while telling everyone I was incompetent. The boy who made that Father's Day card grew up to become a man who tried to steal his father's home. The most difficult item is a photo album Sarah made for my 70th birthday. Frank Morrison, A Life Well Lived. Pictures of me at every stage of Michael's life, teaching him to ride a bike, attending his graduation, walking him down the aisle, holding Emma the day she was born. A life well lived indeed, but apparently not a life that earned basic respect from my own son. I give the photo album to Emma. "These are pictures of your family, sweetheart. All of us together when things were different." She flips through pages slowly, studying images of happier times. "Were you really happy then, Grandpa?" "I thought I was. I thought we all were. Maybe we can be happy again someday." The wisdom of children. Emma still believes in redemption, even after everything she's witnessed. The transformation of Michael's room into Emma's study space represents more than practical reorganization. It represents the shift from a house centered around my adult children's needs to a house focused on my granddaughter's future. We paint the walls lavender, Emma's favorite color. We set up a desk for homework. We install shelves for her books and art supplies. We create a space that belongs entirely to her, with no memories of her parents' deception attached. "This is really mine?" she asks as we arrange furniture. "This is really yours, for as long as you want to live here." The legal closure comes when Michael accepts the plea deal. 7 years for elder abuse, fraud, and conspiracy. Sarah gets 5 years as co-conspirator. Both will serve in state prison and pay restitution for the costs of defending against their fraud. I don't attend the sentencing hearing. Jim Castellano represents me with a victim impact statement I wrote but don't have emotional strength to read aloud. "Your Honor, the defendants didn't just attempt to steal my property. They attempted to steal my dignity, my independence, and my relationships with my community. The financial damage can be calculated and repaid. The emotional damage is incalculable and permanent." Jim tells me later that Michael cried when the statement was read. Sarah sat in stunned silence as if she couldn't believe they were actually going to prison. But the most meaningful closure comes from an unexpected source. 3 weeks after sentencing, I receive a letter from Michael in prison. "Dad, I know you'll probably throw this away, but I need to try to explain something. I understand now what I did to you, not just the legal parts but the human parts. I destroyed your trust in your own son. I made you question whether your family loved you or just wanted your money. I turned the house you built into a weapon against you. I understand now that what I did was unforgivable. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just telling you that I know what I took from you, and I know it can never be given back. Take care of Emma. Give her the kind of father I should have been. I love you, Dad. I always have, even when I was destroying everything we built together. Michael." I read the letter 3 times, then folded carefully and put it in the filing cabinet with all the other documents from this nightmare. Not because I forgive him, but because Emma might want to read it someday when she's old enough to understand. The symbolic closure I need comes from a quiet moment 2 months later when Emma and I are working in the garden, planting flowers for spring. "Grandpa, do you think Mommy and Daddy will be different when they get out of prison?" "I don't know, sweetheart. People can change, but they have to want to change. Do you think they'll want to live here again?" "Emma, this is your home now. Nobody gets to take that away from you." She nods seriously and goes back to planting marigolds. We work in comfortable silence, 2 generations rebuilding something beautiful from the ruins of something that was broken. That evening, sitting on the front porch watching sunset, I realize the house Michael tried to steal has become something it never was before. It's not just the home I built for my family anymore. It's the home I'm building with my granddaughter, free from lies and manipulation. The boy who tried to take my house accidentally gave me something more valuable, the chance to build a new kind of family based on honesty, respect, and genuine love. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well. 6 months after Michael's sentencing, I receive an invitation that surprises me. The Pennsylvania Coalition Against Elder Abuse wants to present me with their annual Courage and Resilience Award at their statewide conference in Harrisburg. "Mr. Morrison, explains Program Coordinator Janet Williams. Your case has become a model for how seniors can protect themselves against family financial abuse. We'd like you to share your story with social workers, law enforcement, and healthcare providers. The idea of speaking about the most painful experience of my life isn't immediately appealing, but Janet explains something that changes my perspective. Sir, we've had over 300 calls from seniors who read about your case and realize they were being manipulated by their own families. Your story gave them courage to seek help. 300 families dealing with the same betrayal I faced. 300 situations where my experience might help prevent the kind of systematic abuse Michael inflicted. The conference is held in March, and Emma comes with me to Harrisburg. She's proud of her grandfather's recognition and she wants to see him receive an award for being brave. The auditorium holds 400 people, all professionals who work with elderly victims of abuse. As I walk to the podium, I'm struck by the irony. 6 months ago, these same professionals would have been evaluating me as a potential victim. Now they're applauding me as an example of successful resistance. Ladies and gentlemen, I begin. 6 months ago, my own son had me convinced that some of you might declare me mentally incompetent based on his lies. Today I'm here to tell you how I proved that competency isn't about age or family opinion. It's about courage and preparation. I speak for 30 minutes about Michael's systematic deception, the evidence-gathering process, and the legal strategy that led to his conviction. But I spend equal time discussing the emotional impact of family betrayal and the importance of maintaining dignity. The hardest part wasn't proving I was competent. The hardest part was accepting that my own son was willing to destroy my life for financial gain. During questions, a social worker from Philadelphia asks what I've been expecting. Mr. Morrison, do you ever regret having your son prosecuted? Do you wish you'd handled this as a private family matter? The auditorium is silent as I consider my answer. Ma'am, what my son did wasn't a private family matter. It was systematic elder abuse that involved deceiving medical professionals, financial institutions, social services, and law enforcement. If I'd handled it privately, he'd still be out there, possibly targeting other elderly people. Sometimes protecting yourself means protecting others too. The applause is sustained and heartfelt. These professionals understand that my decision wasn't about revenge, it was about accountability. After the conference, several attendees approach me with personal stories. A geriatrician tells me about implementing new protocols for verifying family reports of cognitive decline. A police detective describes how my case helped her recognize similar patterns. But the most meaningful recognition comes from Detective Rodriguez, who coordinated the sting operation. Mr. Morrison, I've been in law enforcement for 15 years, and I've never seen a victim take control of their situation the way you did. Most people become passive victims who rely on the system. You became an active participant in your own defense. Detective, I had good teachers. You and Jim showed me how to use the system instead of being used by it. Sir, with respect, we provided the tools. You provided the courage. The recognition extends beyond the professional conference. Over following months, I received speaking invitations from senior centers, community organizations, and legal associations across Pennsylvania and neighboring states. Each engagement reinforces the same message. Elderly people don't have to be victims of family financial abuse. They can fight back, they can protect themselves, and they can win. But perhaps the most important recognition comes from the quiet respect I see in people's eyes when they interact with me now. At the grocery store, at the bank, at the hardware store. People treat me not as a potentially confused old man, but as a competent adult who demonstrated remarkable resilience. Pete Henderson sums it up perfectly. Frank, you're not just the guy who caught his son trying to steal his house. You're the guy who reminded all of us that age doesn't make you helpless. The recognition I value most comes from Emma, who's now 12 and starting to understand the broader implications. Grandpa, my teacher said you're helping other people protect themselves from bad family members. I hope so, sweetheart. Are you famous now? A little bit, I guess. Good. People should know that grandfathers can be heroes too. People should know that grandfathers can be heroes too. From a 12-year-old comes the most accurate description of what this recognition really means. I didn't set out to become a symbol of resistance to elder abuse. I just refused to let my son steal my house by lying about my mental capacity. But sometimes individual acts of self-defense become larger statements about dignity, competence, and the right to control your own life regardless of age. I never received an apology from Michael or Sarah. They're both serving their sentences, and neither has contacted me since Michael's letter from prison. But I've learned that recognition doesn't require apology, and dignity doesn't depend on other people's acknowledgement of their wrongdoing. Sometimes the best recognition is simply the knowledge that you fought back when someone tried to destroy you, and you won. 2 years after Michael's arrest, I'm sitting in the same kitchen chair where this nightmare began, but everything else has changed completely. Emma is now 13, a straight-A student who speaks 3 languages and builds robots in the workshop I converted from Michael's old office. But the most significant change is the work I never expected to be doing at 74 years old. The Morrison Foundation for Elder Protection started as a simple idea: use my story to help other seniors protect themselves from family financial abuse. With restitution money Michael and Sarah were ordered to pay, plus donations from people who heard my story, we've created something that's helping families across the country. Mr. Morrison, says our program director Linda Martinez, reviewing quarterly reports, we've helped document and prosecute 47 cases of family financial abuse in the past 18 months, 47 victories, 47 elderly people who fought back and won, 47 situations where my experience prevented someone else from losing their home, savings, independence. But the foundation is just one part of the new life I'm building. The other part involves Emma and the future we're creating together. Grandpa, I got accepted to the summer robotics program at Carnegie Mellon, she announces over dinner, waving the acceptance letter excitedly. That's wonderful, sweetheart. I'm nervous. It's 3 weeks away from home and it's college-level programming. What if I'm not smart enough? I look at this remarkable young woman who speaks Spanish fluently, builds functioning robots, maintains a 4.0 GPA while helping me run a nonprofit foundation. Emma, you're 13 and you've been accepted to a program designed for high school seniors. You're smart enough. The college fund I established for Emma now has enough money to pay for any university she chooses, plus graduate school. The money Michael and Sarah wanted to steal will instead fund their daughter's education for the next decade. There's a certain justice in that irony. My relationship with Jessica and Tommy has also evolved. Both of my other children have become actively involved in the foundation, using their professional skills to help expand our reach. Jessica, now a high school principal in Oregon, has developed curricula for teaching students about elder abuse recognition. Dad, if kids understand these warning signs, they can protect their grandparents. Tommy, who runs a successful electrical contracting business in Arizona, handles our technology infrastructure. Dad, you've turned the worst thing that ever happened to our family into something that's helping thousands of other families. The legacy I'm building isn't the one I planned. I thought my legacy would be the successful business I built, the children I raised, the house I constructed. I never imagined it would be a foundation dedicated to preventing the kind of betrayal I experienced. But perhaps that's exactly the legacy that makes sense. I spent 40 years building houses and raising children. Now I'm spending whatever years I have left protecting elderly people from the children who would betray them. The most unexpected development is the relationship that's grown between Emma and me. We're not just grandfather and granddaughter anymore. We're partners in building something meaningful from the ruins of what Michael destroyed. Grandpa, I want to study elder law when I go to college, Emma tells me as we work on foundation materials one Saturday. Elder law, that's very specific. I want to help people like you, people whose families try to steal from them. Emma, you don't have to choose your career based on what happened to our family. I'm not choosing based on what happened to us. I'm choosing based on what we did about it. What we did about it. Not what I did, but what we did together. This 13-year-old sees herself as a partner in protecting elderly people from abuse. The boy who tried to steal my house accidentally gave me the greatest gift, the chance to raise his daughter to become someone who fights for justice instead of personal gain. 5 years from now, Michael and Sarah will be released from prison. They'll return to a world where their daughter has grown up without them, where their former home has become a center for fighting the kind of crimes they committed, where their victim has become an advocate who's helped hundreds of families. I don't know what kind of relationship will be possible when they're released. That will depend on who they've become during incarceration and whether they've learned to value honesty over convenience. But I do know this: the life they tried to destroy has become something they never could have imagined. The house they tried to steal has become a symbol of resistance. The father they tried to manipulate has become a voice for elderly people who refuse to be victims. The legacy I'm leaving isn't just the foundation or the advocacy work or Emma's college fund. It's the example of what's possible when someone refuses to accept the role of victim and chooses instead to become a force for protecting others. Emma will grow up knowing that her grandfather didn't just survive betrayal, he transformed it into something that helps other families. She'll understand that dignity isn't something other people give you. It's something you choose to maintain regardless of how others treat you. And someday, when she's an elder law attorney helping protect elderly clients from family financial abuse, she'll know that her career began in a kitchen in Pennsylvania, where her grandfather refused to let his son steal his house and accidentally started a movement. The boy who tried to take everything gave me the chance to build something better than anything he could have imagined taking. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes it's simply building a life so meaningful that the people who tried to destroy you become irrelevant to the joy you're creating. I'm 76 years old, raising a teenager, running a nonprofit foundation, and planning for a future I never expected to have. Life has never been better.